to speak to the issues or what have you. So, first book, second book, I managed to have a big kind of release. That was maybe half the work done. I had to release maybe 50 to 70 copies or so. And then there were a few other things that I did, book club discussions, like something like I did last night here. That, so another 20, 10, whatever, you can get that one.
Right.
And the greatest thing about all of it is the way I'm setting it up and pricing it out. The idea, the plan, not the idea, because this is what will happen. That investment that you're making in producing the book. And I'm just going to use a round number similar to some things that I paid. That's about $2,000. You making that investment to produce it, and get it ready enough to be sold, and ideally somewhere near you printed some copies. And there are a lot more options for all this stuff now than I had back in the day. But you price that book at about 15 to 20 bucks. You sell 100 to 150 copies. You made your $2,000 back. And my main thing is that when I sell the books, I pinch off some of that revenue, reinvest it back into the company to pursue some more books, and repeat the process over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I've laid it out that way in the book and the services, and so there's my plug for.
Okay, so before we get take a break and stuff, I wanted to ask, because when you said Saran, I had no clue that was your middle name, right? So I was reading the excerpt about the book, and so not knowing that, your story is really similar to the kind of what I dealt with.
Okay.
Because it was talking about how you were juggling between pursuing your goals, trying to still love somebody, and then also trying to balance your personal experiences. So I can't wait to read that book. But anyway, I want to ask you, the books that were previously published, were most of those from personal experiences, or because I know you write fiction, so was it from personal experiences, or was it something like stories just from different people that you picked up or met or encountered, and they had stories for you? How did those titles and books come about?
So the first one was very, very much inspired by real life, true life events, but still on some level being personal, being private, also wanting to protect identities and things of that nature, and honestly just telling any good story. You put a little bit more drama than what happened in it. You put some humor in some places where there was no humor to be found in that moment. And so, but that book actually, it was very much a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that the central character, whose name for my middle name, was on a plane flying west to Vegas for a job interview. And ultimately he moves out there. But I was on a plane for a job interview some years ago, and I just needed something to do with myself while I was on the plane, and I wrote maybe those 10 pages. And then somewhere down the line, I needed to apply. I was applying for my master's in creative writing with Chicago State University, Gwendolyn Brooks Center in the program there. And I needed 40 pages of fiction. And I said, well, duh, you got 10. And so it came out of me needing to get some stuff off of myself. It came out of some very practical needs in the sense of how do I apply for grad school. And then grad school itself, it required my thesis to be a creative thesis of some sort. So here's a novel, and it needs to be 100 pages. Okay, well, I got the 40. I can write another 60 and wrap this up so I can graduate from this program.
Right.
It never turned into, even in that point, that it was going to be something I was going to publish. But it just... It showed for me how very organic this whole process is, that you start with something and it takes on a life of itself, and it grows and it evolves in the sense of the things that it provided for me, what it provides for other people, how it fulfilled my different goals. So that one was very, very much a lot of introspection, a lot of me working through and understanding the need to and how to reconcile my spirituality and my sexuality.
Okay.
How I learned to deal with finding out that I was HIV positive. And just even the whole thing of being more open and honest and transparent with my family. And so the second book was kind of born out of even how this third one comes about. That there were characters that were in the books that, and I say this all the time, and it's not to slight anybody, but when we write, we use all these little terms, and one of them is a plot device. You need something to make the story keep going the way you want it to go, and in this sense, I needed Saran, the central character, to have a major conflict, and one of his major conflicts was with his first love. And so people were asking me about the ex, and I'm like, who cares about the ex? He left him broken.
Yeah.
I don't care about him.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple other characters that they found intriguing, and so it turned into me wanting to know some more about these characters. It turned into me writing the second book. It didn't deal with his first lover, but it was another central character, someone who we saw in the first book that I personally found intriguing in the form of the character Lee, who was, for me, intended to be the very opposite of Saran's character, who I felt was very self-loathing and trying to work through all this stuff, and honestly, in a very plain sense, seeking validation and love from other people, and he hadn't found it himself. Whereas this new character, Lee, the second character, he just was just no fucks given attitude. And he's very fun to write, but that one was a lot more imagination. I love the first one because of what it did for me internally and for my soul and all of that, and the story being important to a lot of other people now. The second one, I love it because it was so much more just pure imagination. For me, it showed me what I could really, really write. We talk a lot of times about being writers and writing what we know, which is where you start. But in the sense of wanting to do something that, honestly, I didn't have to tell all of my dirty business to make it.
Right, of course.
No dirty business?
Not mine.
Oh. I'm just telling other people.
And I'm just
asking. I'm just asking.
We were studying the dirty business of these characters. As I have that disclaimer in the front of archetypes and whatnot, I didn't tell I ain't trying to get sued. And it was just I finally, do that bestseller, New York Times, and somebody come back like, girl, that's me. No, that is not.
And you know what? And you know what's so funny? What's so funny is that I'm a very, very avid reader. Like, I read all types of books. Like, I started off reading the hood books. My aunt had got me into, like, Sister Soldier and, like, them dope boy books, all that. And it was so intriguing because it was like stories that you would see not only on TV, but you would like notice some of this stuff will happen in real life. So like you read one part of the book and then you're like, oh, I need to see where this is gonna go down. Like now we're reading Fortune Cookie, right, Ali?
Yes.
So we're reading that. So it has like a bunch of yeah, it's
okay.
Ow.
It just takes you on like and like then I have some other books like I shout out to Dollar Tree, unfortunately, right? So they have books. They have like tons and tons and tons and tons of books.
Yeah.
Like I literally go in there and go and buy like 2 books a week because it's like lit, like the books. But
you tell you have price bookstore ain't no joke.
I'm telling you, like they have books.
Yeah.
Go to that clearance
section.
We're
gonna put that book out there now. I want to do something at y'all store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shut look, half price. Check them out. But like literally, like so, like when I was reading the excerpts of the stories, I kept saying, these are books that I'm gonna have to read because I can sit and read books for the rest of my life. I wouldn't even care. Like I wouldn't get on social media. Like you can ask anybody that live with me at home. Shout out to P. Reginald.
Right, I was like, anybody, how many people?
It's just on the one. It's just on the one. But like I would literally get in the room and like turn and open up a book and would not. Everything would be gone. Like that's the type of reader instead of food, of course. And make sure I have my snacks.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. We'll get into the extra stuff that I'm ready to get into in a minute. So we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
We're gonna take a break and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the third book. We're gonna also talk about things that he has going on now. Also current events. We're gonna talk about the event last night. And so you guys, we got Ali in the house, y'all. It's extra fun. We have Ali. Everybody.
Because hold on. Let me tell y'all, because I'm the.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Let's do a little something else.
Anybody that knows me and Ali are like
3, 2, 1, let's go.
But I still have it live. I still have it live. No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Your research. I forget that I do all that.
I even, like, I have like a whole, like, I
mean, that's
literally,
why I sent it to most, but everybody don't.
I read.
Y'all just gonna sit there and act like y'all don't feel this?
I was ready.
Wait.
I already had a plan that where I'm saying this week I'm gonna do a level up challenge video. I'm gonna record,
Where you
but I'm
going
gonna drop it on my
Wait, okay, so, cause she did one, is it the one that she did, or you making a new one?
Well, I just know I've seen a couple people mimic the video. Okay. Did. But, and honestly, for me, that would be really good.
So you gotta be able to.
I got a little bit, you know, I don't have enough in the back to do what I really want to do.
Yeah. All of it.
Yes.
All of it.
Yes, 5, 4,
3, 2,
1, let's go. That's it.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's Sunday.
Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day.
Be all about tummy.
Yeah.
I'm like, might as well have fun with it.
Might as well.
Hey, that's how my nervousness comes out. Like I get it off.
Y'all,
And it was cool. I didn't even have no time to think about being nervous. I was like, this perfect.
Oh, I gotta get this shit. They got some good corn over there at the gas station. They got good.
Oh, right, y'all should. I would have expected you would know if it was good. I didn't even think to ask you while I was with my girls. And it's like, we can get these tacos. I said, I'm gonna get that torch.
Where?
To that gas station right there. They got good, yes. Everything over there is good.
I consider slapping over there sometimes when I want to show.
Hey,
You
bro.
want another song, or?
Yeah, give me one more song, and then we'll ride on into it.
But yeah, no, I'm serious. It's like, you do all of that. And a lot of people really show me how they appreciate that I give them a press release.
Yeah,
But they don't always seem like they check it.
I normally ask for it because
No, and I've had them since the first time.
and I want to make sure people know who you are before
Right.
you come out, and then
we wasting a lot of time when you gotta do.
and because I have to do one
When you gotta research who I am before I get here. When I
Yeah.
put it in a little package.
because I honestly I knew who you were because when you were living here before, I remember seeing your name a couple places.
Okay.
And then of course I've been
posting the groups a lot.
and then so I was like, well, but then she told me about Instagram. She was like, you should put your radio station on Instagram, and because I did, I was utilizing Facebook.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
when I
like,
saw it.
and literally when you hit me, I was like, and like literally doors have opened just off of Instagram. I'm telling you, like Louisiana in January. So just different, like using Instagram has opened up a lot, like a lot of people. Thank you, Ali, for the Instagram plug, because I literally have been good. That's how he came.
That's how I found it.
Through Instagram. That's how he became my guest off of Instagram. He ended up hitting me up and was like, I want to be on your show. And I was
And
like,
even then, I was telling my girls this in the car. I thought it was going to be me calling in. When you said I could be in studio, I was like, bitch, I'm already just bought the ticket. I'll be there.
yeah, because you taught me to put Instagram on, use my Instagram on, and
we've been clicking since then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks that you can get more instant. Facebook, I'm slowly but surely fading.
Yeah, I'm pulling. I've still been doing some different things, kind of trying to keep it up.
Facebook is more.
There's an age and a demographic,
It is.
but
It's
more
also-
of the people with the disposable income, the ones that's gonna buy something, the ones that got time to read something.
The connections, I think, come a little bit more from Instagram.
I see that.
It's a lot.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially when you have a hot logo.
The event we did was from a message in Instagram.
The Sisters of Power, and we met people all over, like, yeah. So a fashion show that we did last week.
Okay.
So the girl, Real Chunky, we'll talk about that later. So she's gonna send me the stuff for us to go to the fashion show in January in Shreveport. Yeah, so she's gonna send me that.
No, I'm very happy with that. I mean, honestly, it is more evidence that I've seen of so many things that I've been blessed with however long. All that stuff is all popping up at the same time. It's harvest season.
It is
Everybody's
November.
birthday is coming up. Yeah, it just literally is. That's what I'm saying.
Smile. Kimchi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we gotta make sure we connect too.
Kimchi.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, no, make sure.
I'm singing out on here.
What's your handle?
The easiest one to find real quick is my full name, Eddie S. Pierce.
You right?
1914.
1914.
And then the company's Instagram is right there in the bio. But either one, you get either one of them, you got it. Because the personal one has lately been very entertaining. Everybody know about some black cosplay matters now. So wait, now when did the show start? How long has it been doing the show?
Since June of this year.
Very recent.
And let me tell you, well, we'll talk about it when we get
Okay.
yeah. And I just started off doing media stuff, just like coverage and like being with her, and then just helping out around the station. That's
how you have to be in position and know there's an opportunity for somebody to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself out there. You have to try something different. Sometimes you have to give before you get.
All right, you back.
Yeah. What's up? It's your boy JD of the Sunday TakeOut with special guest Eddie Pierce. Well, Eddie Sharon Pierce Jr. from Rainbow Room Publishing LLC. Y'all want to give him a shout out first of all because everybody know that I love food. So he brought me some tortas. And I'm gonna turn them up in just a second.
It looks like a burger though.
It do like a burger, right?
It's a taco on a bun.
It's okay.
So that's why I say torta.
And I probably offended somebody when I said that, but that's how it's right.
I mean,
that is a bun. It's
right.
not
Yeah,
the
it's
flat
a bun,
torta.
but I'm just saying that it's all the stuff that you want to put in the taco.
Okay.
You just put it on the bun.
Okay.
And I'm not a big fan of the crunchy shit of these.
oh, not the taco.
So you give me some bread and meat. I'm a red-blooded American. bread and meat. That's me.
So yeah, shout out to him for the torta. But we were talking just a minute ago. He asked me how long the Sunday Takeout been on. So it's been, my first show was June 24th of 2018. And but I've been with the radio station itself for 2 years, right? Two? It's been 2?
Has it been 2? I don't know.
I think it's been 2 or either.
No,
it was 1 because I came in 2017.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to come and have fun and like just hang with them and talk and laugh and do what they were doing.
Right.
Yeah, because you was just show hopper.
Yeah, I was going to her show. I was on the Tuesday nights. I was on her show, and then like I would have fun. Like I would have a bunch of fun. And so they were like, "You should come out and do stuff with us." And I was like, "Okay." And I would never show up. And so like, kind of just put it on the back burner. I wasn't serious.
Okay.
Honestly, I wasn't serious, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to do all this. I want to develop because I want to go out. I want to do other stuff. I don't want to put this work in, you know. And so I was like, no. So fast forward, was it the Tory program? Right, it was a Tory. The Tory program came, and Angela Rye was here from CNN. Shout out to her. So they asked me, Ty Knightley asked me, they was like, "You want to come and do media coverage with us?" The thing, and I was like, "Yeah." Mind you, it's a Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. Saturday night I went out, of course.
You would never know.
And then so I was like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And Ty was like, "Yeah, be there at 8 o'clock."
And
I was like, all right, I'm coming. And Ty was like, nah, he ain't gonna show up. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. He went out Saturday night. I showed up.
What makes you show up? What makes you find?
Cause then I realized I was like, and it wasn't even about it wasn't even about the name. It wasn't even about it being at the Palace House. It wasn't even about Angela Rye. It wasn't even about this is big, you know. Cause normally a lot of people decide, I'm just gonna do it now because it's big now.
Right, yeah.
They don't want to put the work in behind it.
Yeah,
so, but it really just. It was just that day. Like, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to put my best foot forward. Who knows what's going to happen after this?
Yes.
Then a couple of weeks later, we had something else. I had to be there in the morning. And I went out to the phone.
I was trying to regulate your sleep.
I got up and was there on time.
Yes.
And since then, I've been running.
Okay. All right.
You can ask me to go fold papers for the station. I'm going to go fold the papers. Right. And so, like, in that sense, everything kept going on and everything kept, like, events happening and stuff. And I was literally showing up, like, me and Ali would go work everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then people started, like, saying, hey, can we get you to come to this? And I'm like, me? Because it usually was always the station, and I would just go.
Right.
And I was like, man, and I told Ty, I was like, man, it's really working, you know, because I'm putting my work in.
Yes.
And it went from that to people are like, hey, JD, can you come? I'm like, oh, not again.
Right.
Man. And so Ty was like, you want your own station? And I was like, bruh, yes. And so as soon as the station came, I didn't have, my first guest was Earl Thomas. He was a mime. He's a mime in Dallas. He's like a big, huge mime in Dallas. And he does like awards. But like, incorporating Geraldine, the old lady, because I do play an old lady too, and she's missing. Like, she hadn't even been on the show in a while, but like it started with that. Like, it literally started with stuff like that, and so like I'm really just happy. The guest I had last Sunday, and you said the same thing. A lot of things when you finally put into your mind and actually devote your time to what you're actually called to do, stuff falls in place where you don't have to put so much work in. You can just really walk in it. Right. And he pretty much hands it to you, but of course you still have to put work in to get it. But a lot of things we say, oh, I want to do it. You just want to do it because it's fun. Yeah. And you see the glam, you know, afterwards. Yeah. But I literally seen our show go up and down, up and down, up and down. And like, I've literally really noticed the same things, because I would talk to her like, girl, I'm tired. Right, you know what I mean? But I love it. Like, I love doing it, and like I get so happy when we do stuff. And so when you were talking about how you start off with the friends, and then everything that's turned into now is great. Like, you're getting ready to experience other stuff in the world. Everybody in the world is about to see who you really are, you know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. So while we're
and now you like extra special royalty.
You know what I'm saying? You got the raw treatment.
I looked at the name. I was like, ooh, you going in the right direction. Yes. I am royalty. And I didn't say it, somebody else did. So they be being proud.
I am. You hear me?
I was like, oh, that's they better. They said it.
Yeah, okay.
Like what they said, oh, I
shut up, look. Raw.
That's right.
You know, but yeah, man.
So going into the third book, Love Changes 1.0. Y'all. So Saran, which is, well, we're not gonna say you, right?
We talking about the character, right?
Okay, the character.
Okay, and this is not some split personality type ish.
Oh, okay.
So this book is like a searing meditation on Saran, like the heartbreak and the healing and making a choice between love and his dreams. Mm-hmm. So in this book, is it like going through? Was it like violence? You know, because of course in relationship you have different types of things.
Not this book. The previous book, it kind of hit on something we were talking about earlier. There were a couple of shock value moments. Mm-hmm. There were some things where I had a very hyper masculine character, and they had something you saw really, really quick. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, the central character in that book, he had an abusive father. and we saw how it played out in some of the different things in relationship he had later on.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, now with this, so basically, Love Changes is 4 short stories that make up one book. And I was trying to do a whole lot of artsy stuff with it, but so far I've been hearing that I did it right, I guess. But the main thing that's happening is that, going back to what I said before, how each book has kind of been born out of the reader saying, who is this character, why don't you write about them? And so what happened was that I wanted to, this wasn't even necessarily planned to be the next book. I meant to do like a nice neat little number 3, but now it's only 4. But what happens is that each of these short stories looks at the previous 2 books, but from a different perspective, from different characters' perspective. So you see some overlapping events and things. One of the best examples I always describe is that if the first book was about me trying to get here to you today, you would see me pop up this morning going to church, and my girls looking up in the car with me like, oh my God, I left the books at the church, you gotta go back, and all of that. And then you would get to the story where I met you in the parking lot.
Right.
Second book would be JD goes through his whole day.
Yeah.
And Eddie enters the story when they leave the parking lot. So that's kind of happening, and it also allowed me to explore a lot of different things. It allowed me to, because I was, even in one of the stories I'm writing from a female character's point of view.
That's Cherie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was intimidating, but thankfully none of my girlfriends are like, oh yeah, you didn't do that, did justice. All of them are like, oh no, you hit all those.
Cause she was like an advocate, baby. She was like pushing all the stuff, like from Trayvon Martin to the male rights, everything.
She, in her story, in each one of those stories too, I was trying to look at least one serious issue. And on some level, it wasn't all necessarily about even being political or anything. What I've learned with writing and what I see has been some of the best writing is that you're always trying to make a setting. Okay, so you're always trying to say where something happened. But in a sense, you're also trying to say when it happened. And it's kind of easy and sometimes necessary to say, oh, this happened on November the 12th, 2000, whatever. Sometimes you provide that setting by giving context, by saying, well, what were the people dealing with in that time, in that issue? So with Cherie, we're looking at some things with pay inequality, some women's rights concerns, issues. In the case of another story, I believe Calvin's story, they are looking at the aftermath of not even just the Trayvon Martin murder, let's just call it what it is. I'll put that on the air, that's murder. But we're also looking at the results of that trial, that they even got to a point that the Department of Justice had to even get involved. And so the characters are speaking from their frustration there. And there were a couple other things that kind of more permanent issues, concerns, and events that are popping up in the other 2 of the 4 stories. So it allowed me to do that. It allowed me, in a sense, I felt, to clean up some things with the previous stories. In the sense that, not so much this book, but to paint an example, the first book, we're talking about gay relationships for the most part. And as we're still talking about sex. And we're talking about a character who has HIV. The book is out, it's been sold, and from what I understand, I'm having a similar issue that other writers have, that you write something, you always want to come back and edit it for any number of reasons. But I looked up and said, oh my God, you talked about all this, and you never talked about wearing condoms in the book.
Cause and effect.
Never talked about it. So it was something that I definitely had to look at. I didn't even go back and have to change it. I brought up in the second. But these stories allow me to do more.
Can I interrupt? Why was that important for you to?
Well, because it was condom usage. I'm sorry, I cut you off. But it was because I felt that so much of writing that book and the process of it turned into me seeing how that story helped me and how it could help someone else. And I felt that it was irresponsible. It was irresponsible for me not to at least put that out there. Now, we're not saying that condoms are going to prevent everything, but we take every preventative measure. My thing, honestly, is before you get to the condom, let's talk about discretion and your choices and what you're doing and who you're doing it with and all of that. I'm not making any judgments, but I'm saying that what judgments are you making when you decide to get into those.
And I'm just gonna chime in and say I think that's phenomenal because you're just talking about a book, not even a movie where we can visually see.
We're working on that.
Because one of the things that we don't see, physical presentation of either birth control or protecting ourselves in any films, and sex is prevalent in everything. So the fact
you see condoms, but it's kind of casual, or it's a joke.
Like throw it out.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
Or it's the way that they found out somebody cheated.
Yeah, so for that to be important to you, to even want to write about it, so that it is something that resonates as you read, I think is phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Because I was just like, wait a minute. You visualize. If a book is good,
right?
Like I've already seen. I'm over there. Give me some popcorn. You know what I'm saying?
The first couple pages when I sent you of each book, and you'll see that it's visual.
I had to do a book club. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I knew
So
hashtag carry on.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about that book club situation because I do that.
Because we actually have one started. The first book is The Fortune Cookie, what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
So, shout out to Carlos.
Yes.
So yes, okay, so what, moving on from the book, because I know we can talk about this book.
Yeah.
So the short stories are all the stories that are included from 1 to now, right?
Right.
So you incorporated together.
Right.
So let's talk about last night. So last night, how did the people receive you last night?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'll go out and say it wasn't like I guess it's just in me that always had it down. Like it wasn't like I said, oh, here's this event and just everybody in Dallas showed up. Folks I didn't even know. I did specifically, much like you said before, starting with friends and family. So I went back to my church family, Higher Living Christian Center here in Dallas, and the friends and family members I knew from in here, and I said, hey, I'm gonna be there. Why not do one of these?
Shout out to Anthony.
The first one, yes, that's the T. We did the first release of my first book was in my home, and so that has always set the stage for me to be like, it don't matter how much money you got, you have a space.
Yeah.
And so here I was standing with a friend, and I was like, you know what, y'all have a meeting room or a clubhouse or something. He was like, yeah, you can use it. And so I invited, all those friends and family, and they showed up in good number. They showed up and showed so much support. An amazing part of it too for me was since leaving Dallas in February of 2017, I hadn't seen 9% of them.
Right.
So as they were coming in the door for that, it was when I was first seeing them since I touched down on Friday, and there was just so much
emotional
of the love,
yeah.
But one thing about it that was also amazing was that for different reasons, I was not quote unquote the writer really out there doing my thing while I was living here. There was a lot of healing and everything. I was actually wrapping this book up, but as far as promoting what I was doing, it really didn't happen until it was time for me to go. And it was awesome that, I don't take it for granted at all. I do these things in Chicago. These people know me. They have an interest in so many different respects. But then to do it in a whole another city. Now, granted, at this point, I can say the same folks here, they know me at least for 2 years, and we've had some very deep emotional relationships very quickly. But for them to respond in the same manner was confirmation for me. I said, I'm doing something. They came out. They wanted to hear, they wanted to discuss. It turned into a great discussion. It turned into some awesome pictures that are going to be awesome emotional pictures. It turned into pretty much sold all but maybe 4 of the books that I brought. With me. Because I'm trying to lighten that bag before I get on this plane again.
Right.
So it, and even people just come on for that clap. And it even turned into, it was just an awesome way to get together with a fantastic bunch of people that I love. Including shouts out to Kenneth Jackson, who is on the cover of the very first book. Cute short story. When I was working out the books, as I explained, I was working through a service that would, if you wanted, give you, for lack of a better word, a generic cover, something that could possibly look like anybody else's, and I wanted my own. In that series of events, I find a frat brother, shouts out to Bobby the Sigma. I found a frat brother who had model pictures up, and then went from him to the photographer, and in 2011, we got that cover together without me ever meeting those people. We talked on the phone, we did Instagram, Facebook at the time. And then as that one was dropping on that November 12, 2011, the second cast was taking the pictures for the second book. So here were 10 people who I owed so much of what I can say I've done now.
Yeah.
And never met them. And then series of events. I moved down here in June of 2015. And actually before I even moved, I came down for one weekend. And I met about 50% of them for the first time and was able to hug them, thank them, and everything in person. You know?
Okay.
So it's Dallas has been good to me. It's you. They owe me nothing.
Okay. So are you going to? You have an insert to read?
Yes, I do.
You do. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to let you come back and read a little something.